ABC 10 News at 7 starts now.
San Diego County is now in the orange tier, and that means no curfew tonight at local bars. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. The bars are also no longer required to offer food service to operate outdoors. As our ABC 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena explains, this change will bring a lot more people back to work.
Although San Diego County restaurants, breweries, wineries, and bars that serve food have been open in limited capacity, moving into the orange tier changes things in a big way. Now, capacity limits go up to between 25 and 50%. Indoor operations can resume, and bars can reopen without serving food.
Being able to get everybody back to work, we've got almost 100 team members that a lot of them have been sidelined over the last year or so.
Mike Hess of Mike Hess Brewing says it's a game changer in many ways. For them, manufacturing can start to get back to normal.
A big part of our brewery is making beer, putting it into kegs and sending it out to restaurants and bars. And with those all being closed or at very limited capacity, there hasn't been the demand there for those kegs.
There are still capacity limits across the board, and bars can only open outdoors for now. But it's the light at the end of a long tunnel for an industry more than ready to welcome customers back.
They just have that comfort level that they'll go out. So we're going to be busier than we have been, I'm sure, especially, and the timing couldn't be better as we roll into spring break and get ready to gear up for summer.
Lindsay Pena, ABC 10 News.
The 10 p.m. curfew had been in effect since last July. Bars with no food service can't reopen indoors until we hit the yellow tier.
Speaking of restaurants, they can now offer indoor dining at 50% capacity. For mom and pop restaurants such as Sunnyside Kitchen in Escondido, that will only mean about one additional table. But owners Kate and Bob Carpenter are thrilled to see California making progress toward hopefully fully reopening in June.
We'll just be so happy to have open arms and open doors and all the seating we possibly can.
Under the orange tier, gyms and fitness centers can expand to 25% capacity indoors. Movie theaters can expand to 50%, as can places of worship. Outdoor stadiums are up to 33%, and there are no longer any capacity limits on retail stores. The county announced another 328 cases today, while our test positivity rate dropped to 2%. Well, 3 more San Diegans have lost their lives to COVID, bringing our total now to just under 3,600.
San Diego State will return primarily to in-person classes in the fall and reopen on-campus housing. The university made that announcement today and said that more details will be shared next week. Fall registration at San Diego State has been delayed until May 25th to allow more time to formulate schedules. UC San Diego also plans to return to in-person learning this fall. And the vaccination superstation at the Del Mar Fairgrounds was closed today, with more to come. A continuing vaccine shortage is also forcing the site to close on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Patients with appointments on those days should be automatically rescheduled through the MyTurn online system.
Millions of Americans are getting immunized every day, but pharmacy groups say there are simple ways that we could vastly improve our vaccine supply. ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl goes in depth on 2 changes that could free up hundreds of thousands of doses.
You may have heard that back in December, pharmacists across the country noticed vials of the Pfizer vaccine were overfilled. Every 5-dose vial had enough vaccine for 1 extra dose, sometimes 2, if they had the right equipment to extract it.
We treat this as liquid gold, so we do not waste any drops.
Same story with the Moderna vials. Their 10-dose vials often had enough for 2 extra doses. The issue was having the right syringe for the job. But all these months later, vaccinators say the federal government still isn't consistently sending them the right syringes, leaving some hospitals scrambling to buy them for themselves and forcing others to let bonus doses go to waste. Michael Ganio is with the American Society of Health System Pharmacists.
It's just easier to measure. It's more accurate to measure using a smaller device when possible.
To get as many doses as possible, pharmacists want a small syringe with an extra feature.
This is a normal syringe. There is a large amount of leftover liquid compared to this syringe where there's just a tiny bubble on the top. top.
The ideal option is one with a narrower plunger that leaves less space for leftover vaccine to get trapped, what's called a 1 ml low dead volume syringe. But they've been in short supply. In January, President Joe Biden invoked the Defense Production Act to ramp up production. Since then, the federal government has been shipping Pfizer kits with the 1 ml syringes, but the Moderna kits haven't changed. They still include a standard 3 ml syringe without the low dead volume feature.
There's not enough of all of one device to go around for everyone right now.
But Ganio says one policy change could make a huge difference overnight, allowing pharmacists to combine leftover vaccine from multiple vials into one dose, a technique called pooling.
Under specific conditions, we think it's possible to combine that half dose with a half dose from another vial. And, you can increase the number of patients that you're immunizing by about 10%.
An extra 10% would make about 300,000 more doses available per day. But the FDA has resisted calls to allow pooling, says Dr. Christian Ramers of Family Health Centers of San Diego.
That brings in sort of an infection control risk. These vaccines are preservative free. So a fungus or a bacteria or something could get in there, and you don't want to be mixing and have the possibility of contamination.
Pharmacy groups say pooling has been done for years with other vaccines and argue it can be done safely with simple precautions. Between that and using the right syringes, experts say we could speed up vaccination efforts even more, allowing the U.S. to share more doses with countries around the world. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
A cruise line that sails out of San Diego is asking the CDC to let it start cruising again this summer. Norwegian wants to set sail in the U.S. on July 4th and says it will require all passengers and staff to be vaccinated. Now, in its proposal, Norwegian says it would begin sailing at 60% capacity and increase by 20% each month. The cruise ship industry has been decimated in the last year with no ships sailing to or from a U.S. port. You can stay on top of any new developments with coronavirus by downloading the 10 News app. A free version is available in the App Store.
Today marks 3 months since a Chula Vista mother disappeared. Maya Miliete was last seen January 7th, the same day her family says she filed for divorce. Today, police said they've interviewed 47 people, written 12 search warrants, and reviewed more than 40 tips. Her husband, Larry, admits the two had a rocky marriage, but maintains his innocence and is not cooperating with the investigation. Meantime, the search effort is getting some fundraising help. 2 locations of El Pollo Grill and Chula Vista are donating 30% of their earnings tonight to help find Maya. The fundraisers will be held at the Bonita and Otay Ranch locations until 8 o'clock. We have the complete timeline of events on Maya Miliete's disappearance and search on 10news.com. You can find that in the story in today's update.
A new California law might make it easier for insurance companies to drop coverage in high fire areas. Our ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Dela Cruz explains what you can do to keep your home and your property covered.
If you live in a high fire zone, 100 feet of defensible space is nothing new. But as of this year, that's still not enough. On January 1st, 2021, the California Public Resources Code was updated, now requiring an ember-resistant zone. That means adding 5 feet of space between homes and any materials that can burn.
Beautiful box hedges, the bougainvilleas, birds of paradise, anything that's combustible. So mulch, bark.
Alpine Fire Marshal Jason McBroom says not only does the space keep your home safe, but it can also keep you from losing your insurance.
When the insurance agents start coming out and doing site inspections of your home and they see combustible material within this first 5 feet, they're going to immediately start denying.
McBroom says the code applies to existing homes designated in very high fire severity zones. That includes places like Alpine, Lakeside, and Bonita. Tony Skidmore owns Hidden Haven Farms in Alpine and was hit hard by the Valley Fire in 2020. He says our interview was the first he's heard of this new law.
I think it's a good idea, but it's just a matter of getting it communicated properly. I was completely unaware of this.
But as a wildfire survivor, he knows you can never be too prepared.
Whenever the Santa Anas would come up, it makes us really nervous, more nervous than before. Just because you clear the perimeter, it doesn't keep the embers from flying over and hitting the interior.
McBroom says our fuel moisture is lower than it should be, so he's expecting a stronger than normal fire season this year. So that extra 5 feet of space could be crucial.
Doing one or two things now could be the difference between you coming home to your home standing after a wildland fire or not.
Jennifer Dela Cruz, ABC 10 News.
Your voice, your vote. It appears Shirley Weber's daughter will take over her assembly seat in the 79th district. The results of yesterday's special election show Akilah Weber with 52% of the vote, well ahead of the Republican Marco Contreras. There are still an estimated 9,500 ballots still to be counted, but it will only be a runoff in June if those ballots push Weber under 50%. 3 other Democrats on the ballot got a total of 14%.